And now, Professor Dora Carréon-Freyre, from Mexico. She's an expert in everything, being on subsidence, fissures, and now presentation about fracturing.
Okay. So I will try to do it very quickly because I have a lot of information to share with you. So I will give you a very fast introduction about geological conditions of Mexico City. Then to talk about this map of fault of ground fractures and faults in Mexico City, the vulnerability index we try to introduce, and to present a very newborn baby that began in November the last year, the first observatory of land subsidence that we have in the Iztapalapa municipality. So this is more or less the geological conditions in Mexico City. As you know, it was a huge lake that was desiccated in the long of the years. So we have these very new lacustrine sediments with, in average, 200–300% of water content. It's very, very complex, many kinds of clays, smectites, kaolinites, alloysites, illnites, every you want, because this is a basin established in a volcanic valley. So we have this interaction of sedimentation in the same time that we have volcanic activity. So we have lava flows interbedded with ashes and with gravels and sands and clays, and then lava flows again. Everything is mixed in there. So we have this kind of geological sections. And of course, there are more or less 20 million people living in this area, more or less. So we are extracting an enormous quantity of groundwater for the last 50 years. So you can see here, this is the same basin. So only for you to be orientated geographically, I mean, this whole polygon is the so-called Mexico Basin Aquifer. The area that you know as Mexico City is only here in this area, and all of this is the metropolitan area of Mexico City. And for these people living here we have more or less 25 million people, and here we have more or less 12 million people in the really Mexico City area. And to supply water to all of these people, we bring water from other basins nearby the Mexico City, the Mexico Basin, and almost the 70% of water supply is coming from groundwater in Mexico. So you can see, well, not only in Mexico City, but in the whole country. You can see these curves that are really dramatic. In the 60s, in the 70s, we have this increase, dramatic increase on the population, on the extraction, and this acceleration of subsidence as well. So the threshold is here, and it continued to increasing the volume of water extraction, because since we have the 8th International Symposium of land subsidence in Mexico, anything changed, sadly, about public policies in Mexico. So maybe you know this diagram. This is the huge lake where Aztecas established in 1400 and 500, more or less. And this lake was desiccated little by little, first by the Aztecs, then by Spanish, and the main city, Mexico City, is established over this lake. So you have all of this drainage. This is the lowest part of the whole basin. And in this lake, this is the last part of the lake is called Texcoco Lake. It's a salty lake, and this is the last lake we have in the area. So this is a first map of land subsidence. As you can see, I will show you very quickly that all of these are volcanoes. It's a range of volcanoes here. And there is another one, the Popocatépetl is somewhere here. And this is a closed basin, surrounded by volcanoes, and all the water is coming to the center of the basin. So all of these are ranges of volcanic material, and this is what I mentioned in the other slide, the lowest part of the lake, and this is the so-named Lake of Texcoco. So here we have the old, the downtown of Mexico City, and here we have the last part of the lake, the salty lake. This is mainly composed by smectite islets, and this is mainly composed by allophanic material, very compressible and very unstable. And this is the same and the same here. So you can see that you can see in this diagram, but in another one I will show you that here we have almost 30 or 40 centimeters per year subsidence, and the others are varying from 10 to 20 centimeters per year. So in 2017, we made the first map of ground fractures and faults in Mexico City, because the information it was really mistaken. There are many people opposing of this idea to having a map because of the we could generate an economic problem because of the depreciation, the lower cost of the houses in the city, but we publish it anyway. And so we realized that the most of the fractures are, of course, surrounding the volcanic ranges within the Mexico City area. And but there is a big difference between ground fractures propagating because of differential deformation and regional faults that are related with the origin of the basin of Mexico. Here we have this geological section of, here we have more or less 5,000 kilometers depth. These wells were realized by the oil company in the city of Mexico to improve the knowledge of the basin. And normally the aquifer we are exploring now should be the granular materials more or less here. So now they have the project to stop using this aquifer and look for much deeper aquifers. There are some specialists that are making this recommendation. I'm not agree at all, for sure. But well, this is one of the ideas for the water agency. And more than that, we have also, this is a seismic area. This is all the earthquakes we had in the last, I don't remember, I think the last 5 years or 10 years. So you can see there are some really important earthquakes, like 5, 4, but there are many, many little earthquakes every time, everywhere in Mexico City, well, in the area, in the central area. We published this map in 2017, and then in the 19th September, we had this huge earthquake. Just in the same week, we are supposed to publish this map. And we realized that many of the houses damaged by this earthquake, there are these blue points, are located near the fractures. And we also make a correlation with the houses damaged in 1985. And we also have this correlation about within the damage and the fractures in the lacustrine deposits. And you can see how destructive, how bad is the damage. Everything is broken, the streets, pipes, houses, everything. We are talking about a very, very high differential deformation. So normally when you are working with risk assessment, as certainly you know, we heard about physical vulnerability, but for constructions, for building, not for the geological media. So we wanted to introduce this index for the geological media that can be useful for the authorities to have an idea how susceptible is the media to fracture or to have a great deformation. So we integrate all of our database, the morphology, the piezometric levels, the land subsidence rate, the fractures that we have already mapped, the lithological contacts, the soil type in the surface, and we make a correlation of variables and we assign some qualifying factors to estimate this index of vulnerability of the soil to fracture or to suffer a high deformation. So we have this map that they are already using in Mexico, and we have these areas, red areas that are high sensitive to fracturing and to deformation, middle risk, and with a very low risk at all. Now, we are going from the whole city to only this municipality that is called Iztapalapa. And as you can see, the special thing with this municipality is that we have three systems, a volcanic system within the surface of the municipality. We have this Santa Catalina Range, Cerro de la Estrella, and Peñón del Marqués. And this kind of belt shows a very, very high deformation rate. So we are working together with the people from the municipality of Iztapalapa for 15 years already, and we have a very, very detailed cartography of the fractures. We even already grouped these fractures, trying to understand the different mechanisms of fracturing in different zones. And this observatory that I mentioned is located here in one of the most important zone of deformations in this municipality. So, as I mentioned, we have already identified different types of fractures with different velocities of propagation in the surface, openings, vertical displacements, etc., in the different areas of Iztapalapa. We also made, at the long of the years, we have made many studies with ground penetration radar, with seismic prospection, of course, geomechanical characterization in the lab, identification of the mineralogy of the clays, silts, and other sediments. We also began some models. It's not really a model of a stress model, but an computational experiment trying to understand how differential deformation, how differential displacements behave underground. And now this is the observatory. We just began in November in this area that was really one of the most affected areas in Mexico and in Mexico City. It is a collaboration between the National University, the Council of Research in Mexico, and the municipality of Iztapalapa. And 2 minutes, okay. It's very important to note that in this area, we had this destruction of 2 schools. So this is very symbolic to having this observatory in this field. And there is a very dangerous area because this area is a low economical and social area. So to having this observatory in there is really changing the life of all of these people. There are no more drug dealers, or they are light, they are places to go through. It's really nice. So it was very important for us to give this kind of gift to these people to know more about the conditions of the city and the place they are living. So the old that is the name in Spanish, is really want to create this awareness for the people about the geological conditions where they are living, and why their houses are being broken all the time, about the scarcity of water, and even we have an artistic and cultural activities that are encouraged to disseminate this information. So we have 4 areas in the OIFRA. This is a geological window to show the people how the subsoil is and what is the relation of these fractures with the foundation of their houses. So we have infographics of different subjects to teach the people of different ages about geology and the formation phenomena. We have scale models and workshops for children. We have an area of monitoring I will show you later. And even we have this little gallery for temporary exhibitions. So we have already many visitors. This is how it looks like inside. We made a model with fractures. We can turn the manual in there, and then you have subsidence in there. We have these infographics. We have some other models and more material for children to play. A sandbox such as the one we saw ago. This is one of the first expositions. 0 Day is the name for a couple of photographers. Very, very nice. This is more or less the infographics we have. We have the geology of Mexico City. We have how water management is going in Iztapalapa, subsidence and fracturing. The monitoring, we have already 2 deep wells for monitoring deep subsidence in the area, and all the equipments we have. Do it quickly. How we are recovering these spaces. This is a fractures. They are making drawings to the fractures for the people to remember there are something in there, and they will be always there. So we need to live with it. The planning of the city. These different here we have only nowadays we have only two deep monitoring depths, but we are planning to make a monitoring garden in this. We have these other monitoring areas, and this is it. I finished.
Thanks so much, Dora, for this this great depth in this talk. Very short questions.
Thank you for this interesting talk. So you wrote about the culture of adaptation. May I ask what is in detail this culture of adaptation? Is that okay? I'm used to these fractures in my house, or
you need
so,
to.
okay. Or so there are some actions, you know, to for example, to build future houses based on certain type of, you know, for example, construction.
Yeah, the thing is sometimes difficult to imagine is that there are so many people in there, and they have no place to go. If you lose your house there, nobody can give you another place to build your house. There are no more places. So you need to live in there.
So it's a culture of constant repair.
And resilient. Yes and no. For example, there are 3-level houses with any foundation. So the government helps the people to change the house entirely, to remove this house and build a new house lighter and with only 2 levels, for example. And in the place you have the fracture, you will do the garden, but you will not have a house anymore. This kind of recommendations. Or to save water, because everybody needs to save water in Mexico City.
Very brief question. If not, then thanks a lot, Dora.